Alright, so we find ourselves just off St Aldate, the main drag south, and we're actually outside the main gateway of, I would say certainly now, Oxford's most celebrated college, that is Christchurch and Christchurch Gateway. Beautiful tower there, it's known as Great Tom. Tom is actually the bell inside there. Okay, the college dates from 1525. The tower in the 17th century, Sir Christopher Wren construction, more of him later on. Let's say the college was founded in 1525 by a man called Cardinal Thomas Wolsey. He was the right-hand man of the celebrated King Henry VIII, I am. Okay, originally it was called Cardinal College until Wolsey fell out of favour with his lord and master Henry VIII when he failed to achieve a divorce from Henry and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. So Henry, not best pleased with Wolsey, said, off you go, out you go, I'm going to take over the founding of Christchurch, and he renamed it the House of Jesus Christ at Oxford. And to this very day it's known by the locals here as the House. Another important thing to remember, it is just Christchurch. It's not Christchurch College, just Christchurch. The reason being, college would take away the emphasis of the word church. So if anybody tells you, that they were at Christchurch College, you can tell them they're lying, but they didn't. Right. Now, while we're here, is if you're overnighting in Oxford, come down here about 9 o'clock, or in fact 9:05 in the evening, because you will hear Tom the bell toll 101 times. And the reason for that is, when this college was founded in the 16th century, there were 101 students and there was a 9 o'clock curfew. So as the students returned, the bell tolled to count them back in. So when they got 101 in, they could lock those doors. It's a tradition that lasts a day. Now you might have noticed that I actually said 9:05, 5 after 9. Well, that's true, because that's Oxford time. The mathematicians here in the 16th century calculated, because we're about not quite 60 miles northwest of London, there's a 5-minute time delay. We still operate on Oxford time today. So, Great Tom, 5 after 9. Now we're going to try and get in there later on the tour and actually see Tom Quad, which is the largest quad here in the colleges of Oxford. In fact, Christchurch is the largest college by a long way of the 39 in Oxford. Over 600 students in there. Okay, little point of interest for you souvenir shoppers, and that's just across the way, number 83, St Aldate. So you can just make out the sign there, a red sign, and Alice's shop. Now, it's in there that a certain Alice Liddell used to go and buy her sweets and candies back in the day. Now, the story of this is that her father was a man called Henry Liddell. Now, Henry Liddell was the dean of the college here at Christchurch, which we'll be going into shortly. Now, associated with this college was a man called Charles Lutwidge Dodson. Very shy and private man, much more comfortable in the company of children. Befriended Alice Liddell and wrote her stories, influenced by actions and people and characters all associated with Oxford and particularly Christchurch. For example, Alice's father, Henry Liddell, had a habit after meal times at the dining hall, would look at his pocket watch and go, tut tut, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, and would scuttle off down a doorway, down the stairs. There was another master, elderly language teacher, I believe, had a tendency of falling asleep in his soup. You might have worked it out by now. Charles Lutwidge Dodson was in fact Lewis Carroll. So all those stories of Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass are greatly inspired by all we see around us, particularly Alice's shop. So down by the waterside here, known as the head of the River Thames flowing through Oxford, and I said before that this section of the River Thames, known locally as the Isis, and it comes from the Latin Tamesis, is what the Latin-speaking countries still refer to the Old Father Thames, and lots of activity, obviously not in a cold January day, but normally a hive of activity. So one of many things you could do on a fine summer's day is come down to the river to these many boating stations, hire a boat, whether it be a rowboat, little motorboat, or particularly the traditional flat-bottomed punt, where you steer your boat with this huge rod. You punch down into the water and propel yourself along that way. But nice pub here as well ahead of the river. But the Isis, as you're aware, sport plays a very big part in college life here, and one of the biggest sports here, of course, is rowing. Huge competition between the colleges themselves, and the best represent the varsity as a whole. And of course, the very famous Oxford and Cambridge University boat race every April down the River Thames. Actually, while we're on the subject of sports, actually, we're just at Oxford and Cambridge. I should tell you, actually, if we're in Oxford, we've got to keep that quiet. We can't actually mention the word Cambridge. We're walking around Oxford. We've got to refer to them as the other place. All right, the other place. Talking about that, if you represent your college at a particular sport, all well and good, and then you're looked at by the varsity as a whole, and if you actually represent the varsity at a particular sport, let's say it is rowing, you achieve what's called a varsity blue. And the reason for that is the colours of Oxford and the other place are blue, so be very careful you're actually shopping for souvenirs, because the colour of Oxford is dark blue and the blue of the other place is light blue, so be very careful which shade of blue you're buying when in Oxford. Alright, well, this is lovely. We're back outside Christchurch in the lovely memorial gardens laid out in 1926 in the memory of students and fellows that gave their lives in the Great War, World War I, 1914 to 18. And this is quite evocative here, actually. You'll see this sword and this inscription that quotes John Bunyan from Pilgrim's Progress, and it says, "My sword I give to him that shall succeed me in my pilgrimage," which is lovely. But we'll head on over here. Let's say laid out in 1926, and it's actually laid over a lost stream. It's the Trill Mill stream. There was once a tavern, I think it was the Green Dragon Tavern was on a site here, but there's an urban legend. I've got to actually going to try and find out if it's actually true or not, but they said in the 1930s they were dredging this out underneath and they discovered a flat bottom boat, a punt, with apparently 3 skeletons in it. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm actually going to ask a man now who might actually be able to tell us. And so we've moved on through the memorial gardens alongside the vast Christchurch, brought you to the visitor entrance, which is off the other side. Now, see some people queuing up there. It's a £7 entrance fee. We've been given permission to actually get inside there and do some filming, so we'll have a look-see at the great quad, the cathedral, and of course the dining hall. Now, as I said before, Christchurch is probably now the most celebrated, famous college in Oxford. Dare I say, for possibly the wrong reasons, these rather tenuous Harry Potter links. Now, a lot of people are under the impression that a huge amount of filming was done here for the Harry Potter movies, particularly the dining hall. Well, I need to correct you on that one. It's not the case at all. Warner Brothers were given permission to access the dining hall to film and to take sketches. In fact, what they did is they built a mock-up Hogwarts dining hall studios north of London. However, there was some film, we'll be able to show you that, a particular staircase. I think it's from the first movie where Maggie Smith, or Professor McGonagall, welcomes the kids to Hogwarts the first time. She's standing at the top of the stairs. She says, "Oh, welcome to Hogwarts, children." We'll be able to show you that staircase for sure. But Christchurch, more celebrated for the largest college in Oxford. And of course, the unique thing that here, the Cathedral of Oxford is actually the college chapel, and that is a unique thing. Alright, so we've actually made it inside Christchurch now. We're just going to head up the stairs momentarily, but I just wanted to point out this door, right, really interesting actually. Just make out these brass tacks have gone in there, and this is no peel, and what it was an official protest by the students here back in 1829. It was the then Home Secretary, Sir Robert Peel. Incidentally, a Christchurch man. He proposed greater rights for emancipation of Catholics, and obviously they weren't particularly happy about that here, and this is their official protest, so no peel. There you go. So as promised, we're now going to head up this staircase here. At the top is where they did actually film that scene, as I was talking about earlier, about where the kids arrived off the boats at Hogwarts, and Maggie Smith, or Professor McGonagall, welcome the kids, welcome to Hogwarts, children. Alright, so do you want to follow me up? So here it is the spot that Warner Brothers actually used for that movie. So if you want to go back and check out the very first Harry Potter movie, remember this lamp here, and this is where she was stood, right here. So we're now going to go through to the dining hall, which I believe, is open. And as I said, Warner Brothers took the inspiration for Hogwarts from here. They didn't actually film in the dining hall. The thing you've got to understand as we go through is that this is a busy working college. It's an actual operational dining hall. These students have got to be fed 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Just going to go to a circle. I'm just going to get Greg to follow me around as we just do this in a little circular format as we go in through. So we'd like to follow me and I'll run the commentary. So up we go through the door. All right. Now before we go in, I'm just going to get Greg to just portrait above the doorway. That is actually Henry Liddell. You remember from earlier, he was the father of Alice Liddell, the inspiration of Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass. So we just follow down. It goes in a counterclockwise pattern, but beautiful dining hall dating from the 16th century. Laid out for, I would suspect, dinner this evening. But as we go through, you'll notice there are certain differences between here and Hogwarts dining hall. There's only 3 rows of tables, not 4. There's no stage at the end of it, and there are certainly no floating candles as we go through. But beautiful nonetheless. I'm just going to get Greg to sort of do a panoramic of all the famous alumni of Christchurch throughout the years. In fact, right there, Greg, if you could just pan around here for me. This gentleman here, right there, Charles Lutwidge Dodson, Lewis Carroll himself, right there. All right, so we'll walk down here. So, maintaining the Alice in Wonderland theme, there is a stained glass window up on our left hand side, which is the Lewis Carroll memorial window.
So you will actually see lots and lots of little
just waiting for this gentleman.
It's quite hysterical.
He moves on.
Yeah, but normally those are sort of real ones.
There we go.
These are stone.
That's something to keep an eye out for.
So first things first, actually, I'll just take your attention to the beautiful fireplace here and what those brass ends are called fire dogs. You'll be able to see the human heads at the top, but with the elongated neck. And you might recall from the Alice stories, of course, Alice, her neck grew at great length. So this is where Dodgson was getting his inspiration from. Just stepping over here, Greg, to just look up and focus on the stained glass window at the top. Now, there's 2 rows of 4. Top row, left-hand corner, you can see Alice herself. Come to the right-hand side on the top row, you'll be able to see the dodo, of course, in Alice's story. But look above there, the crown with HR, Henry Rex, Henry VIII. And of course, on the right-hand side, you've got the Cardinal's hat, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, the founder, 1523. Now let's come down to the middle row, the second lower row. You've got Tweedledee and Tweedledum. You've got the White Rabbit. Bottom left-hand corner, you've got the Queen of Hearts, the Mad Hatter, the White Rabbit again, and of course the Turtle, and of course the Lewis Carroll Memorial window. Fantastic. But we go up to the top, towards the stage. You have picture the master's table here. King Henry VIII, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, and of course King Henry VIII quite liked beheading people, particularly his wives, or hence like the inspiration of the Queen of Hearts. Off with their heads. That's the little doorway that Henry Liddell would disappear down on Late I'm Late. And this is the table where, of course, the inspiration for the Dormouse, the professor that used to fall asleep. Look round the other side, and of course, another stained glass window for you. Second in from left, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, next to Erasmus. But just beautiful stained glass there, dating from the 16th century. Great, so we're out here now in Tom Quad, one of the three quads, the largest of three quads here at Christchurch, and we just left the dining hall exit there, and just get ready to shoot the camera up slightly, so you see three figures above the doorway there, but in the middle there, with his cardinal's hat and his staff, that is Cardinal Thomas Wolsey. Remember, he's the guy who actually founded this place originally in 1525. The gentleman there, the proctor with his beautiful bowler hat there, guarding the entrance to the cathedral. Again, that's part of the entrance fee. So unique in the fact that the college chapel is a cathedral. Absolutely unique. We'll never have that. So, interesting to see the layout of these quads. Now, we're at Christchurch, the largest of the 39. Okay. Doesn't matter how big, how small, how many students, essentially they're all laid out in exactly the same format, all built around and in a quadrangle. Quads here at Oxford, courts at the other place. Okay, so it's quads here. So what we've got here is accommodation blocks around this side for first year students. Every college has got its own main entrance. See, we're just on the other side now of Tom Tower, the Christopher Wren construction from the 17th century. Over there we've just been in the dining hall, the chapel, essentially the cathedral, and of course all these are the administration buildings, as well as stewards' offices, the treasuries and that sort of stuff. But there you go, Tom Tower. The 6-ton bell is Tom, and the main entrance and the wing statue there in the middle of the quad is Mercury. Alright, so we just moved to the far corner of Tom Quad, and I want to share a quick story with you actually. So I've been bringing people here, tours through Oxford and Christchurch for many years indeed, and I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, I was bringing a group through, and I noticed some signs, and I think you get an impression now that I might have an interest and passion for heraldry and all things, imagery and that sort of stuff. And I came across these signs down here on the paving stones, and it got me a thinking, what is the symbolism behind this? So I asked one of the proctors, in fact I think it was actually young Chris at the end there, and I said, Chris, what is the story behind these inscriptions here? You've got GM, WM, and over there you've got a T. I said, is there any meaning behind all this? And he said, yes Rich, there is actually, it's quite important. He said the GM is gas main, WM water main, and of course T is for telephone. There's nothing particularly mysterious about it, but I just thought I'd share that story with you. Alright, so we're into the second of the three quads at Christchurch. This one's Peckwater Quad. We're not actually allowed into Blue Boar Quad over there, but this is a newer section, if you like, and where the first year students will have their first year residency here in the accommodation block. And Peckwater Quad, as you can see above the doorway, Peck's Orientis, is actually named after the Peckwater family that once upon a time had a tavern on the site right there. We're seeing somewhat appropriate with students, obviously. But this architecture dating from the 18th and early 19th century, very much in that kind of Palladian style. I'm going to get to have a look over here, and you'll be able to see this chalk. It's not exactly graffiti, it's accepted. There you see the Cardinal's hat above the top, and you see Christchurch Boat Club. It's all about rowing, massively important, particularly to Christchurch. And you'll be able to see, I think, Greg can zoom in on that one, the men's first torpid's first year rowers. Head of the river, they got to head of the river firstly, won, and they rowed over each night, and the date 2010. And then around various other ones you've got who they beat, who they're up against, but so that's accepted. So Peckwater Quad, and as we turn around here, this is just absolutely stunning. This is the Christchurch Library, very much in the Palladian style. You can see the sort of porticoed window tops, and of course a fine, I can't think of a better example of your classic Corinthian columns there, the Arcanthus leaves just coming down, dropping over the top. But it's actually the second window over there that Charles Lutwidge Dodson, aka Lewis Carroll, was writing his stories about Alice Liddell. And another link here, once upon a time there was a tree in the middle of this quad that Alice's cat, I believe it was called Dinah, used to sit sunning itself in the branches, and I think Lewis Carroll had the impression that the cat was grinning, of course the old Cheshire cat there. But yeah, Peckwater Quad, one of the three here at Christchurch, Oxford's largest college by a long way, actually. Absolutely stunning. Christchurch. Alright, so we're just about to leave Christchurch, but before we do, I just wanted to point out the exit gateway. This is the exit. All tours will exit through here back into Oriel Square, but beautiful gateway here, and you might be able to just catch that there, Greg. Richard Robinson, Archbishop of Armagh, Northern Ireland, once upon a time the Chancellor here at Christchurch. But just for your information, here in Britain we have 4 archbishops, and in order of seniority, we've talked about one early on, Archbishop of Canterbury, the top churchman aside from the monarch. Number 2 is the Archbishop of York. In fact, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey was once upon a time Archbishop of York. And then the next 2 down, the Archbishops of Wales and the Archbishops of Armagh and Northern Ireland, all part of that United Kingdom Church of England site. So this is the exit. That, my friends, was Christchurch.